Hey everyone, and welcome to today's WordStream webinar, 6 proven ways to triple your PPC conversion rate. Actually, luckily for you guys today, Aaron and Mark were nice enough to throw in one additional proven way, so we'll actually be covering 7. So my name's Callie, and I'm here to get things started. We're going to get all the logistics out of the way so we can get straight to the fun. I just wanted to let you guys know that following today's webinar, I will be following up with each of you, providing you with the slides and the recording of the webinar, so be on the lookout for that. We'll also have a dedicated time for Q&A following the presentation, so please be sure to submit all of your questions through the Questions tab in your GoToWebinar toolbox. And for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we're a search marketing software provider with both free and paid tools to help you easily grow your AdWords and Bing campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search, definitely check out PPC University at our website, wordstream.com/learn. Now for today's webinar, we definitely encourage you guys to be social throughout the presentation and join in on the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag #ConversionHacks. And we encourage you to follow at WordStream and today's Megan, Mark Irvine 89. So let's jump into today's agenda. We're going to cover a lot. So definitely stay on your toes. We're going to cover why conventional wisdom around conversion rate optimization is just plain silly. We're going to look at what a good conversion rate is and what it takes to get there. We're going to review the top 10% of landing pages. We're going to see what makes them tick and how can I replicate them so you can roll them out across your brand. And what do I need to do to convert more users? Now before getting started, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters. First, we have Erin Sagan, our Customer Success Manager here at WordStream. She oversees a team managing 2,000 plus paid search accounts. She has spoke at PubCon last year. She just spoke at SMX West, and she'll be speaking at PubCon in Austin in April. So she's pretty busy traveling around the country. And when she's not working, you'll definitely find her hula hooping, vacationing in the Caribbean, and binging on reality TV. Next up, we have Mark, who's our data scientist here at WordStream. He helps us spot trends and data to help hit search and remarketing goals. He is speaking at SMX Advanced Seattle in June, and he is shamelessly addicted to reality TV just as Aaron is, so they make a perfect match. Now before we get started today, we're going to dive in. We're going to try to get to know you guys a little bit better. So I'm going to launch a poll here to see a little bit more about you. So how long have you been using AdWords? Has it been less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, or over 5 years? Now it looks like about 50% of you almost is less than a year. About 20% is over 5 years, and the rest is right in the middle. So you guys can take a look at the results right here. And then let's jump into our second poll. It's what's the average conversion rate for your landing page? Is it 0 to 1%, 1 to 3%, 3 to 7, 7 to 10, or are you totally kicking it out of the ballpark with plus 10? So it looks like we have almost an even race between 0 to 1, 1 to 3, and 3 to 7, all right around 30%. So that'll be helpful for Aaron and Mark to definitely tailor their conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and share these results with you. Take a look at that. And now we can get right into the content, and I'll hand this over to Aaron and Mark, and they can get started. Off to you guys.
Thanks so much, Callie, and thanks everybody for coming in today. I really appreciate you filling the poll information out because we can definitely tailor the conversation to some of your guys' specific needs. And I'm also really excited to see that a lot of you guys have only been in the PPC game for a year. One thing that we tend to see quite a bit in this industry is the experts that you hear a lot from are not always the best people to listen to. I'm lucky to have Mark here, who is our resident data scientist. And what Mark and I do oftentimes is we look at the data associated with our accounts, and we base all of the information we're giving you guys and the trends that we're seeing on the trends that we're seeing in our own accounts. Luckily here at WordStream, we have tons and tons of accounts to analyze, so we have a pretty good data set to work with. And one thing we see is a lot of the trends that you typically hear about are not actually what our accounts are showing us is happening in the true paid search industry. So today we're going to squash some of those typical landing page optimization tips and focus on what our data actually shows you. So I'll warn you ahead of time, I personally am not a big data geek. Luckily I have Mark here to interpret all of it for us. And it is a lot of data. So if at any point you guys have questions, feel free to reach out. We'll address those at the end. Moreover, if you need to kind of review the graphs and check them out afterwards, as Callie said, we'll have all of those available online so you can kind of dive back in and give yourself a refresher. So don't feel like you have to take it all in right now. All right, the first thing we're going to talk about, secret number 1, is the way experts do their conversion rate tests is silly. So I think a lot of times, and I hear this from my clients all the time, the way that they run A/B tests on their landing page or optimize their landing page is they change really dumb things. They'll switch from Calibri to Arial. They'll try a yellow button versus a red button. Fine, go ahead and do those things and give it your best go, but ultimately that's not going to move the needle. So oftentimes people will change the button color and make one of these silly little changes, and they'll automatically see, oh, okay, they got a little uptick in conversion. It seems like thing, and it seems button color has been your kind of Hail Mary path, but in reality, the data shows us something a little bit different. So I'll pass that over to Mark to let him show you guys what our data shows.
Right, thank you, Erin. So I'm going to start off the webinar by kind of taking a laugh at myself. When we first started preparing for this webinar, it was in January, and a lot of what I was going to focus on was an internal study that we did here at WordStream. And in early January, I spent a lot of time, I pitched this idea for one of our landing pages, and it tried to get everyone into it, had to get Larry Kim, our e-board, all of marketing, to buy into our story, just to even do this landing page test. So I really did want it to work. And day one, what we saw is, and this is what the graph is on this slide. We're comparing an original, our control, which is that gray line, to our alternative, our landing page test, which is that blue line. And what we saw right off the bat was, my test was working, and it was really great. I took to Twitter. I was in Larry's face about it. Really did go out there. I started writing a blog post. Doing the things that people in the industry do is you want your test to be successful, so you overhype them when a small change works right away. However, as we continue to run the test, as we really got a lot of data and time into the test, we saw that that the results weren't all that significant. In fact, as we continued to run the test a couple weeks out, the lead that my alternative test actually disappeared. So it's that problem that we have where either you're in an agency and you're trying to convince your clients that your efforts are working, or you're internal and you're trying to convince your e-board or your president that your tests are working. Oftentimes our hard work doesn't pay off and we just end up deluding ourselves. And so what I learned, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to learn the hard way, is that small changes often result in small changes to conversion rate. So that % increase in your conversion rate wasn't as significant as you originally hoped it was. And that's the big problem in our industry, is when someone in our industry is going out there and they have this great A/B test and that initial lead is so great, that's when they're writing the doing the webinars. And we kind of want to contextualize the entire webinar away from making those small button changes, font changes, image changes, and really focusing on what is working out there in the space. So this is about not rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, not focusing on the small details, but really making sure that what you're focusing on is going to be a significant change. Instead of looking at rearranging the deck chairs to keep the Titanic afloat, look on getting more lifeboats. And that leads us to our second secret. What is a good conversion rate? And so we have tons of data. We get thousands of accounts in to our WordStream database all the time. What I did is just pulling back. This is a cross-section of about 10,000 paid search accounts. We removed anyone who wasn't specifically tracking conversions or appeared to be tracking conversions incorrectly, or people who were just low volume accounts, so anyone who was getting fewer than 150 clicks over the course of a month. Tried to weed out as much brand. This is, again, just the search network on Google. And so what do we see across the industry? Well, we see a lot of people doing poorly right off the bat, and then a median, you know, our 50% rate is, a median is 2.35% conversion rate. And then just above that, our top 25, we're doing about 5.3% conversion rate, so about double. But even like just our top 10% of people, and our poll at the beginning kind of actually really reflects this as well, this kind of distribution, that top 10% of people are doing fantastic. They're getting conversion rates of 11, 12% or higher. And so when you're thinking about how do you go about setting up a conversion rate test and what should you be benchmarking, really great results are actually more common than you might believe off the bat. And I think that a lot of this is about seeing the forest for the trees. You're working your account all day long. If you've got a 2% conversion rate, then you're going to think that a 2.2% conversion rate is fantastic. One of the humbling experiences of when I started working at WordStream is I was working in-house in a law firm originally and then started working here where we have so much more data. And too easy to spoil your account. So we want to widen everyone's perspective a little bit and look at broader trends across the industry to see where you might be leaving something on the table. And pass back to Aaron to talk a little bit about unicorns.
So if any of you guys have been on any of Larry Kim's webinars or seen him speak, he is obsessed with this concept of unicorns. And essentially what a unicorn is one of those kind of top 10% really, really dynamic landing pages or ads, just kind of like the best in your account or what you should be striving for. So as you can see, Mark did a little bit of research here. And when he analyzed landing pages, he found that anybody with a 2.35% conversion rate or below really fell into this more of like an average group. We would consider those landing pages fully unremarkable. 25% of landing pages fell in this 5.31% conversion rate group. That's 2 times your average kind of crappy, unremarkable landing page. We deem those awesome. Like, you're doing an all right job. Where we're really seeing those unicorns is people are falling kind of 5 times that average rate. Those are the top 10% of accounts, and those are the most valuable, most interesting accounts. And those are the landing pages you want to be striving for. In fact, that top 10% of accounts have a conversion rate 3 times the average, right? That's a big deal. So when you think about this, I think a lot of times people start to make excuses. They start to say, you know, I'm in a tough industry. Whatever that average is, that doesn't really apply to me. I know Mark was saying he worked in the legal industry before. A lot of times we tend to see lower conversion rates in the legal industry. It makes sense, right? I mean, you're working with these huge payoffs, but the likelihood of finding kind of those gem clients is going to be very low. Don't get mired in that. Don't start to think, hey, you know, my account is unique, or hey, I don't fall in with the averages. Instead, think about your specific account and understand that for every industry, this rule still applies. So for even if you're in e-commerce where we tend to see lower conversion rates, the top 25% of those are falling kind of like the same, I guess, distance from the average accounts. And then for those top 10%, those are 3 times the average, right? 1.84 times 3, you're getting close to 6.25. So if you really want to strive for those unicorns, think in the context of your industry and always know if you're going to be one of those best landing pages, you're going to have 3 times the average conversion rate. All right, so think about your industry and aim for improving your own landing pages. Go for 2 to 4 times increases, not just those teeny tiny percentages, which are not going to make the difference at all. Those are not going to move the needle. Those button changes, that's not going to change things for you. All right, so this is probably one of the biggest takeaways you want to think about here. The landing page unicorns, 3 times your average conversion rate. All right, so we'll move on to secret number 3, which is you won't get it right until your 10th attempt. This sounds a little disappointing, and let's go a little bit further. Let's take a look at the data. So when we look at our awesome landing pages, which are falling in that top 25th percentile, we see they're 1 in 4, right? In some ways, this is actually a good thing. When you think about text ads, it's more like 1 in many, many more than that. The unicorns tend to be the top 10% of landing pages, or in that top 10 percentile. So 1 in 10 of your landing pages, you can strive to have a really good one. Now you're probably thinking, all right, where are my unicorns? Like, I have my landing pages. I'm already doing everything I need to be doing to get them. How can I find this unicorn solution, and how can I make it there? Totally understand where you're coming from. So for let's go to the next. Yeah, perfect. So stop thinking about making those teeny tiny little changes. Stop A/B testing things like spacing, font, colors. Again, it's not going to move the needle. You can do it all you want. It may change things slightly, but we are looking for 2 times the conversion rate, 4 times the conversion rate, not 2% increases. All right, so the next thing we'll talk about, which is secret number 4, Mark's going to show you that it's actually not as hard as you think it is to get these great landing pages.
Great, thanks, Erin. So right off the bat, testing 10 landing pages or testing 10 unique landing pages before you find 1 unicorn, that's daunting. It's not something that's hard to hype up, but it's worth your efforts. But it's really, again, not as difficult as that sounds off the bat. When you're thinking of like testing 10 unique landing pages, this isn't you doing a site relaunch 10 times. This is you finding those landing pages that's going to make the difference on. So right here I've got a graph of a large e-commerce account in our managed services portfolio. And what you see is that it's probably got 1,000 some odd landing pages in total across the entire account. But the very first landing page, the one that's most trafficked, has about 35% of all the traffic in the entire account. And then just continuing to look at it, you see that the top 10% of all landing pages get roughly 80% of the traffic. So in terms of where do you need to really focus your efforts and look on increasing your conversion rate, it's really in a handful of your own landing pages. It's not something that you need to go out and create tons of new landing pages and reinvent your entire site every month or something like that. You can focus all of your effort on just a couple of landing pages. And what we see in most accounts, these are some stats from what a typical small business AdWords account looked like in 2013. The bar for excellence is relatively low. If the standard small, medium business was only sending traffic to 3 landing pages, and 25% of those were just sending it to 1 landing page, in particular their home page, it's very easy to focus all of your efforts on where you're currently sending traffic and making that better, rather than going for your reach and your fringe landing pages, where you honestly, you can push the needle all you want there, but if it's still such a small percentage of your traffic, then who really cares? And what we saw is that it really wasn't worth the effort to go through and create hundreds or thousands of unique landing pages as opposed to focusing on just those couple that really matter. Just scatter plot across again, 1,000 some odd accounts, what we saw is that there was very little correlation at all. All of you are welcome to look at this graph and tweet me or email me if you see correlation data. But just looking at rough scatter plot, there wasn't a strong correlation at all between the number of unique landing pages people had and their conversion rate at all. So what we're telling you is really focus on those couple of landing pages that are going to make a big difference in your account. Be actionable and don't find yourself mired in all the details and all of these fringe landing pages. So secret number 5, what do these landing page unicorns look like? So we got all of this data, and we looked through all of it, and we're sitting around and we're trying to think of, okay, what common trends do we have in this? And rather than trying to pull something from AdWords and make magic happen, we did it the old-fashioned way. We actually looked at all these landing pages. So what did we get as we hunted through some hundreds of unique landing pages? Well, there were common trends in it, and Aaron and I are going to walk through them with you. So the first one, actually, Aaron, you've been with WordStream a little longer than I have. You've been here like 3.5, 4 years. So I'm going to let you take this one because you've got a great story for it.
So this landing page is kind of like a lockdown memory lane for me. This is a landing page that we had when I first started here at WordStream, which was, like Mark said, like almost 4 years ago. And we had this landing page for a really long time. And it's really basic. When you think about landing pages, if you're going to consider, like, what is the, like, you know, girls always say the basic girl with landing pages, this one falls under that standard. It is normal, it's boring, and for a software company, it's lame. Almost every software company has the same stupid offer. They have a software platform, and so logically, they think, oh, we'll just let everybody give it a shot. We'll give them a free trial. And so for the longest time, we kind of sat there wondering why our landing pages weren't really changing. We were doing the same crap that a lot of you may be doing right now, playing with the colors. Like, I think we changed the buildup of this stupid little car about 10 times, and it didn't move the needle. And finally, we started doing some testing with our prospects. We would literally send them a survey and say, okay, what do you want to know from us? What is your theme words? What do you want to know? What do you want to learn? And what came out of that is this new offer. I mean, it totally revolutionized our business, just changing the offer on this landing page. So we found out from people what they wanted to learn about is how they stacked up against their competitors. They wanted to know what they were doing well in their account, what they weren't doing well in their account. They basically wanted us to assess their need for our software. So rather than just kind of going in and be like, oh, all right, I'll try this software, try this free trial, what these people needed was to find out, do they need to do a trial of our software? Are they performing poorly with their paid search accounts? And if indeed that was the case, then they were 10 times more likely to actually sign up to do a trial. So based on this user feedback, we developed this thing called the grader. Some of you guys have probably heard of it. We've iterated on this many times since, but when we made this swap, when we changed the offer on this landing page, like I said, our business took a turn for the better because all of a sudden this new offer met people's needs and we saw significantly more action with this call to action.
Second thing we wanted to talk about was changing the flow. So this actually comes from one of my clients. Previously, I had this software client, very similar to us internally, but they sold a different kind of software. And what they were doing, again, was they were offering a free download of their software. And you know, it was very standard in how it was very basic in how, I'm picking up on the lingo. It was very basic in how their offer went. You would arrive at a landing page, there was a form on that landing page, and they asked people to fill it out, and at the end of it, you got to download the software. Sounds like a lot of other accounts I look at all the time. But then what the big change was they changed the flow in how they were converting users. So rather than asking people to fill out a form and then download the software, they actually changed it where you would download the software, and then once you had downloaded the software and installed it on your computer, after a certain period, it would ask you to register the software. So you're getting people who are effectively still doing a free trial of the software, but by the time that it asks to capture their lead details or to actually pot committed, there's several minutes into downloading the software and then several hours into using the software. At that point in time, they're they've got that addiction or they're pot committed to using the software. But they're still capturing the same, they're actually capturing more leads now, and they're all higher quality because they now know that this is something that they want to continue using rather than something that they're taking a chance on. We also did this relatively recently at WordStream, where previously, our first big win in changing our offer was changing our offer from a free trial to running that grader. Now we've changed the flow fairly recently again, where we previously used to ask everyone to give us your details and then log in with AdWords and then get that free report. And now it's 3 separate processes. So when you run the grader, it first asks you for a bunch of details. And then you'll see is what we saw in our Google Analytics was a lot of people were falling off this page because then they were either on their phone or they didn't have the credentials to their account right off the top of their head. But we still were able to capture their details so we could remind them or actually reach out to them. And we were capturing considerably more leads just by changing the flow ever so slightly. And then again, changing the flow. This was a great landing page that really stuck out to me. You're letting users choose how they want to interact with your site. So if anyone's in an industry like addiction or rehab or anything health related, to be totally honest, you know that just off of your keywords, it's a very semantic game. Someone searching for rehab, you don't know if you're talking to someone who is seeking help for themselves, help for someone else, or something else. They're just looking for information. This right here allows users to change the flow, particularly coming from their AdWords account. And it allows you to cater their offers and the landing page and the experience and the conversation that they have with these people just off of whether or not they select, are you personally struggling with addiction, or are you looking for someone else, or do you need to speak to someone right now? And that's going to, first of all, let you cater your offers to these individuals. Also going to allow you to segment your remarketing list, which is a great segue into our secret number 6. Remarketing is your secret weapon. And so what we see when experts in the space are talking about conversion rate optimization is a typical conversion rate optimization is moving, like if we delivered on a promise and a lot of you guys came in with a 1% conversion rate today and you tripled it to 3% conversion rate, traditional CRO looks at that as a great win. You tripled your conversion rate. Congratulations. But the flip side of that is that you still have 99% of people or 97% of people who are not completing the goal on your site. And that gives you such a large opportunity to scale what you're doing in terms of getting conversions and conversion rate optimization.
So I'm a big fan of remarketing. I mean, if you look at the data that Mark just presented, it paints a really clear picture, right? Like you want to not just focus on getting people to convert on your site, but also like encourage them to come back to your site and engage with your site. Remarketing is so cool because 96% of people who actually get to your website, they leave before they actually take the action that you want them to take. And is even more painful is 70% of those people abandon their shopping carts without actually completing their purchase cycle. So, you know, when you think about it, it makes sense. I mean, I am a total tease to a million advertisers out there because I am addicted to online shopping. I mean, every single day I pick about like 4 summer dresses that I plan on wearing in the 2 warm months that we have here in Boston, and I fill my cart with them. And then I get distracted because, well, I have a job, so I should be working. So somebody will ask me a question, or I'll get an email, and I lose track of my shopping cart. Or I take a second thought, and I realize I probably should be saving this money. So I leave, or just, you know, I get distracted. Sometimes I really, truly do want to make that purchase, but I don't have time to do it. So use remarketing to boost your conversion rates. Bring people who are genuinely interested in your products, who have already spent time on your site, engaged with you, to freaking put something in a shopping cart. Like, that's a big deal if they're actually getting that far. Use remarketing to bring them right back, re-engage them, and finish out the process. You've already spent money getting them to your site, so you might as well keep that going and actually bring them back and have them complete that purchase. When you look at conversion rates over time, a lot of people are really hesitant to do remarketing. They're saying, oh, it's too creepy. Oh, these people have already left. What do they want to come back for? Well, we know, actually, that the more times you kind of bring your ad to them, the more time you spend remarketing to them, the more likely they are to convert. And it makes sense. In fact, after seeing your ad 6 times, people are twice as likely to convert, because every time you show them your ad, you're reselling them. You're re-engaging them. You know, when I put dresses in my shopping cart, I might want them and I might abandon the shopping cart because God knows I don't need to spend another $200 on summer dresses. But when I see that ad 6 times, it becomes irresistible to me. I start dreaming of myself wearing that dress all summer. All I can think of is buying that dress, and it drives me right back to the site to make the purchase. So remarketing is an incredibly, incredibly powerful tool that every single person out there should be utilizing.
Great. And then our 7th and final secret for today is that you have to mobilize now. And so this is kind of one of those things that a lot of clients actually are very anti having a conversation about mobile. There's a lot of argument about why do I stress about mobile? My customers aren't on mobile. We've never typically done well in mobile in the past. More on that later. But why stress about mobile? Well, 1,000 reasons. First of all, what we can see in this graph here from ComScore is that mobile traffic is, or mobile users are quickly actually exceeding the number of users of desktop and traditional internet, particularly in the developing world, and you know, even in the U.S., you're way more likely to have an iPhone or a smartphone than you are to have a laptop for a lot of low-income users. And what we're seeing is that, and they say it every year, 2015 is yearful. But what's the problem? We're seeing that mobile conversion rates consistently lag behind any desktop and tablet conversion rates. That's improving over time, most certainly. But as that share of mobile users is increasing, people aren't necessarily putting in that effort to improve their mobile conversion rates.
I literally feel like we should have added in one of those like Debbie Downer scenes from SNL, because this is such like a womp womp, like, oh, you've been working so hard, you know, maybe you went and did your mobile landing pages years and years ago. Your mobile conversion rates are low. So this is what we're seeing. A lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about mobile a long time ago. Now, when I first started at WordStream, I was like evangelizing people about mobile. Nobody had a mobile optimized site. Nobody was thinking about mobile. We were starting to see mobile trending as more and more popular. And what I said to everybody is, if you don't have a lot of time or a lot of money, head to Duda Mobile and create just a quick mobile optimized site. This was a company that was supported by, I believe, a Google Innovation Grant or something like that. They created these quick and dirty mobile landing pages. Now the problem is most people never updated these landing pages. You feel like, you know, it was only a couple of years ago that you changed them. You're forgetting how much phones have changed. So people say, you know, mobile phones are so small. You should be creating really simple, really basic sites for mobile because they're so tiny you can barely see them. Well, I actually watched a movie on my phone yesterday. AdWords is launching an app to do your freaking AdWords on the phone. I mean, the mobile user experience has changed significantly to the point where we really need to update our mobile landing pages. In fact, we're also seeing they're significantly faster. So mobile mobile landing page speed on computers, it's changed 4 times in the last 4 years. It's 4 times more powerful than it was 4 years ago. So there's really no excuse not to spend time looking at your mobile landing pages and updating them. As you can see from this page over here on the right, it's not a good mobile landing page. In fact, we're seeing that people are seeing this mobile landing page and hightailing it out of there. They are swapping in favor of the full site. This is scary. If people don't like your mobile landing pages so much that they opt to go look at your full site on a mobile phone, then you know it is time to make a big change to your mobile landing pages. So I'll let Mark present some of the data he's finding with mobile devices.
Right. So a lot of what we're seeing is, you know, you do need to cater your mobile offer to your mobile user. And what we're seeing is that, you know, mobile ad extensions are a great way to promote alternative mobile conversion paths. Things like product listing ads, ad headlines, and site links, which you can do on both desktop and tablet and mobile, those have your traditional low search click-through rate and your search conversion rate. But when you throw in mobile-specific offers, things like the mobile click-to-call or the mobile app extension, which allows you to download an app directly from Google Play or the Apple Store right onto your phone from the SERP, those have amazingly high mobile conversion rates that are atypical when you compare them across your other offers. So you're seeing mobile click-to-call, people who see that button and click it, those people actually convert and speak to a live person over 20% of the time. When you're talking about unicorns, these are like more than your top 10%. These are like twice that. And then your mobile app extension, those are your unicorns on steroids. They're converting nearly 25% of your people are going and actually downloading app from the store from that. So while mobile click-through rates are low, extensions yield very high conversion rates. And you also have the option when you're talking about mobilizing your conversions and creating these ad extensions, you can specifically just show your phone number. Any of the line, site link, any of that stuff, you can just create your call extensions to show your phone number by when you're creating them, clicking that just the phone number button and selecting mobile, and that will only allow people to view your number and make a call from the SERP. There's not going to be any click to you poor mobile site. There's not going to be any fall off in terms of conversion rate where you could be where you might get 3% people calling from your site or something like that. These are people who are arriving at the SERP, and 25% of people who are interacting with it are going to click and call and talk to a person and become a deal for you right now. And this is so clutch for a lot of service-based industries where if I'm looking for a tow truck and I'm in Boston, it does not matter to me if I'm on my mobile phone what your site looks like. I'm looking to talk to someone because my car is broken. If I'm looking for a cab, same idea. If I'm looking for a dentist or a lawyer, chances are I really don't care what's on your landing page at all on my mobile phone. I want to speak to someone. So this kind of extension is so clutch for so many service-based industries. and users are actually 9 times more likely to place a call from the mobile SERP than they are to arrive at, do a search on desktop and see your call extension and call it from that. We're seeing that for every 1 call from a desktop ad extension, you're getting 9 from mobile. So if you're not on mobile and you're not really optimizing your ad extensions for mobile, you're leaving so many people on the table. So you can just bypass the landing page altogether just by promoting that call.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Mark is talking about is really powerful. I don't want to, like, hit you guys over the head too much with the importance of calls, but I do want to make sure that everybody is connecting with this idea. I mean, it seems a little, like, backwards. You know, for so long we said, oh, just, like, digitalize everything. Do everything on your mobile phone. Nobody wants to connect with people. That's not true. I mean, people like talking to people. People like booking appointments through people. People like calling to complete a sale. In fact, phone call leads are by far the hottest leads that your company can get. Why? Because you can actually sell that person on the phone. I mean, if somebody fills out a landing page, you then have take their form, fill out. There could be a time lapse between when you get that form and when you actually contact the person. So much can happen in that time. People could find one of your competitors. They could lose interest. They might give you a poor phone number and you'll never get a hold of them again. With a phone call, you have a hot lead coming right in. You have a person hopefully there to answer the phone to really convert that person. Instead of making a better landing page to get a conversion, you're actually training a person to do that conversion, to connect emotionally with the person on the other end of the phone and encourage them to convert. So even Google is starting to recognize that call only is the future when it comes to mobile. And they're actually taking action on this, which is pretty exciting. So it was recently released, this concept of a call-only campaign. Rather than just kind of doing this cool workaround that so many of us have been starting to do with those extensions, we now have the opportunity to set up call-only campaigns. These are really cool. Basically, with these, you don't even have to put in a landing page. They're not going to show a link to your landing page. What they're going to show is, and this will only happen on mobile phones or devices that you can call off of, but they will just show the phone number and the click-to-call button. It eliminates the mobile landing page altogether. So if you think back to number 6 and your mobile landing pages are crappy, well, I still think you should absolutely invest in resources to make those landing pages better. We know that changes are coming on the SEO side. We know we need to invest in mobile landing pages. But if they're crappy right now, don't send people there. Use this as an alternative for the time being, or maybe forever if you're seeing that calls are super valuable to you. These campaigns will let you show your phone number. They will also allow you to start to capture your call-only metrics, which will be really interesting. You'll all of a sudden be able to make PPC level decisions based on this call data. So this is really going to revolutionize how we manipulate our mobile bid adjustments, how we think about managing a campaign that's receiving phone calls. We're seeing a lot of people switching over to these. We expect to see more and more in the coming months, especially as they start to sunset the call-only extensions, which is happening, I believe, in June. And this will definitely be a more and more common thing that we'll see in the mobile phone space. All right, so let's recap of everything discussed here today, and then it looks like we'll have a few minutes left over for your questions. All right, so number 1, don't be tempted to focus on small changes. Small changes yield small results, so go bigger. The biggest results are going to come from those big changes that you're making. Moreover, the top results belong to those aggressively testing those 10+ different offers. Next, you want to make sure that you're focusing on those high volume landing pages first. Those are going to yield, because you have more people coming to them, you want to make sure that you're kind of putting your money where your mouth is. Make sure that you're focusing on those. try changing your offer and your flow. That's going to do a lot more than changing button colors. That's really gonna make a big difference with your conversion rates. Number 6, my favorite one, use remarketing as a conversion rate optimization tool. It will be hugely impactful. We use it for all of our clients, and we're seeing great results with it. And then finally, ensure that your offer is mobile friendly, and use calls and apps to convert those mobile users. Those tend to be the real game changers for us here. All right, so as I continue, I'm just going to push it over to Callie to finish up with a couple quick offers for you guys, and then we'll get on to questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Erin and Mark. That was awesome information. I just wanted to offer you some quick offers. First, before doing that, also definitely go over and check out our free AdWords grader. It's a free instant PPC audit in less than 60 seconds, and it gives you a grade on your whole AdWords account based on 8 different PPC metrics that really matter and will help you definitely improve across the board. It also gives you a comparison on how you're doing against other accounts of similar size and monthly spend. So definitely go check that out at wordstream.com/Google AdWords. Next, we'll go right into our offers, as we're running short on time, and I want to get to as many questions as possible. So today we can offer you a free live demo of the WordStream PPC Advisor, a one-on-one AdWords assessment of your account, and if you don't need any help with your PPC at this moment, then definitely let us know that as well. Now, let's dive into some questions while you guys are answering. Okay, Mark and Erin, I definitely have some good questions for you. So the first one is, what about remarketing design? Should the user see the same ad like every time that you're serving it to them? How often should you mix it up? The different sizes, different wording, different creative. What's the best practices around that?
Yeah, so what we saw is, so there are a lot of different ad formats that you can run with on the Google Display Network. I believe that there are 14 and then text ads. I think that the most important thing is that you're breaking up your remarketing list to be most catered so that you can offer a different kind of offer to each kind of remarketing list. So if someone is a shopping cart abandoner, you want to remarket to Erin and her shopping cart of $1,000 worth of sundresses more differently than you're going to remarket to me and my flip-flops. So you want to break out your remarketing list to give them that most specific offer. What we actually see is that people, although people say that they get very tired of seeing the same ads, ad fatigue with remarketing ads is very, very minute. So ad fatigue basically comes at half the typical rate that you get with kinds of either TV or display ads because they're more familiar with their brand and there was some kind of initial reaction with it to begin with. So by all means, if you have the time and the resources to continue to create new kinds of images, do it. But it shouldn't be a priority. There's still a lot of return in giving the same people the same ad a number of times.
Great, thanks, Mark. Now, is remarketing helpful for users who have already purchased your products? Do you want to limit it just to those who have yet to convert, or can we kind of use it for both avenues?
Oh my God, no. Remarketing for people who have purchased your product. If you have a product that is likely to multiple sales, so for example, I'm thinking e-commerce. If I'm purchasing a sundress, remarket to me with a pair of shoes to wear with that sundress. Let me tell you, I will absolutely fall for that. So if you have, if you tend to see that your customers make multiple purchases from your website and that there's a likelihood that they will continue to do so, absolutely continue to remarket to them with different ads, different offers, get them back to your site to make another purchase.
Great. If everyone optimizes for mobile, leave more opportunity for all the shoppers left on desktops?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Absolutely. If everyone optimizes for mobile and puts, all their baskets there, all their eggs in the basket there, excuse me, does that leave more opportunity for shoppers left on desktops?
Well, so we know that desktop shoppers aren't going anywhere. There's going to be more and more mobile shoppers in the future, particularly as the youths and their mobile phones, they become more savvy, and our payment metrics, or payment methods on mobile are going to take off. We're going to see e-commerce really continue to grow on mobile, but I don't think that anyone's really neglecting desktop. I think that if people are neglecting anything, it's mobile, and that's kind of your biggest opportunity of growth. But again, you shouldn't, I think it raises the fair question that you shouldn't be neglecting desktop just because mobile is growing so quickly. You still have, if right now we're having half the users in the world on mobile and half of them on desktop, if they're going to surpass that, then you still have that other half of the audience that's on desktop. You still need to be catering, specific offers to them, and you can't stop A/B testing your desktop landing pages just because and mobile is becoming a large thing. You need to continue to push that.
Sounds good. Is there a way to, we got a lot of questions about mobile, guys. Is there a way to track mobile site visitors who then convert on, say, their iPads or even laptops and desktops?
So that's really funny. This is what my panel in Seattle is on. Attributing cross-device conversions. There isn't a strong, concrete way to do that. Google is there's a column within the AdWords UI that allows you to track something called estimated total conversions. And what that does is it's specifically looking at people with that pattern who are logging on to their mobile phone and then doing some kind of interaction on your site, and then arriving back at their desktop later in the day and converting via desktop. It's difficult to necessarily track that. What Google is currently doing is Google is basically trying to match people who are logged in to a Gmail or some kind of Google account on their phone, and then doing the same kind of interaction while they're logged in to a desktop, and then making a model off of that. It's a good way to approximate exactly how devices interact with one another, but it's not a solid metric. A good way that I actually look at when I'm trying to determine, okay, is mobile influencing desktop, is I just create a scatter plot of how many mobile users are arriving at my site over in a given period, if it's a given month, and then seeing how many desktop conversions are coming in the same kind of month. Are the two related? If I pull back on mobile, do I see a lot of desktop conversions disappear? Or if I surge on mobile and I don't get that direct return, am I picking up in an area just on desktop? I think that it's really interesting to have a look and see exactly how people are interacting with your own data. There are totally going to be accounts in industries where there's a lot of that cross-device activity, and there are going to be others where there's considerably less.
Great. Now, would you guys recommend call-out extensions for all AdWord campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think call-out extensions are a pretty popular one because they can be applied to so many campaigns. We didn't specifically go over those today. What we were more focused on were those call-only extensions, or I'm sorry, the call-only extensions to agree, the call extension to a degree, the call extensions, but eventually moving to the call-only campaigns as the call-only extensions will start to sunset. If you're asking about the call-only, I absolutely recommend those for anyone who is running a poor mobile site, or maybe, for a lot of people it just makes more sense to send somebody to receive a call rather than sending people to their mobile landing pages, even if they are good. With those call-only campaigns, the couple of things that you need to remember, you need to ensure that you have someone there to answer the phones, someone who you've prompted, someone who's understanding of the type of traffic that's going to be coming from PPC, and is there ready to convert the person on the other end of the line. The other thing you want to be thinking about, make sure that you're turning those off, either using day parting or just not running call extensions during your off hours, because the likelihood of somebody leaving a voicemail and you being able to convert them after that is probably significantly lower. Definitely experiment with that, whether you'd rather have people leaving voicemails or sending them to fill out a form on your landing pages. The other thing you want to think about is ensuring that you're getting feedback from the team who's answering the phones. Right? They're going to be able to give you a lot of insight as to the type of traffic that you're bringing to them and how successful they are. Use a call tracking system if possible, where you can either record those calls or get more data from those calls. That will also help you assess the value of calls coming in from call-only campaigns.
Great. Now I think I have time for maybe one or two additional questions. And a follow-up to your last answer, Erin, it would be great if you could talk a little bit about how that would work with WordStream's call tracking.
Yeah, perfect. So our call tracking is actually one of our newest products, and I'm really excited about it. I absolutely recommend that anybody out there who is receiving phone calls through PPC should be using our call tracking system. This call-only campaigns is brand new, so a lot of call tracking providers are currently working on finding the best solution to track those. So right now we're working on that since it was just launched. We do have a solution for those using call extensions. We have what we would call source tracking. So we're always going to plug the same number in there to ensure that we're tracking all of the phone calls coming from your call extensions. So kind of TBD, we should have more information out shortly on how those are going to work with call-only campaigns.
Great. And we'll shoot for one more quick question. We've been asked, how do you manage tests for landing pages specifically on lower traffic sites where it can take a long time to get the data so that you can actually make an educated decision on where to move forward? So do you have any recommendations on how to run those tests and get the data?
Yeah, so what a lot of people in the industry are going to tell you is that you have to do something like you have to track for 30 days or 90 days until you see a solid lead in terms of an A/B test, because you don't ever want to be in that position where you're making the decision off of 10 conversions and 9 conversions, and is that statistically significant? Spoilers, it's not. A lot of my stats days used to tell me that you needed a population of 30 before you could even make that decision. But what I've kind of taken from all the research just on this kinds of test is that anything where you're not certain, where you're afraid that you're looking at 9 versus 10 conversions, or you're afraid that you're going to lose something due to insignificance, is simply put insignificant. What you really want to get in the model of doing is you want to get in the habit of looking for conversion rates that are 2 or 3 times your current conversion rate and declaring those the winner, rather than the ones that are 2 or 3% better than your current landing page. So rather than focusing on those small little changes, you want to make sure that you're testing completely different offers with different landing pages. Change the offer and change the flow and see how those convert differently, rather than finding, removing or adding a form field or moving it to above the fold or to the left or to the right or changing the button color or something like that. You really want to be looking for large differences, otherwise you're wasting months of your time doing one of these tests.
Great, thanks so much. And I'm going to get one more question out of you guys just because we've gotten so many. Do you guys recommend bidding on branded terms?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very dependent on the business, but I do typically like bidding on branded terms simply because You can't always rely on your SEO to ensure that you are reaping the benefits of people who know you. Right, so think about it this way. Somebody types in one of your branded terms. If you only are relying on SEO to get those people to your site, what is between your search and your name in the SEO results? 3 ads, right? So they could be all of your competitors. You may be bidding on your branded terms. That's taking the traffic who already knows you, who's already interested in you, kind of like your guaranteed people, and snatching those right from under your fingertips, right? So by adding those ads are going to be able to write compelling ad text, encouraging people to go to your competitors' sites and stealing that traffic. Definitely recommend bidding on your own branded terms so you can sell your ads. Typically, those do tend to be cheaper traffic. So I know a lot of clients are like, oh, I don't want to spend money on my own branded terms. There are some cases, definitely check out your own business, but they tend to be cheaper.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Thanks so much. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Mark.
No, go. Yeah. So what I look at it is it's such a cheap way. At the end of the day, you're spending maybe 5% of your total ad spend on your branded terms, and it's such a defensive win for you to prevent your competitors from showing up, and it allows you control the SERP a lot better too. You either get to push your competitors away from bidding on your terms, or let's say you have a bad review on some site. That ad then pushes that bad review one spot further down in the SERP, and then fewer people see it. It's just such an effective way to control your your SERP presence.
Great. Thanks so much, Aaron and Mark. I really appreciate all of the great content you shared today. Unfortunately, we were not able to get to all of the questions, so we apologize for that, but we definitely encourage you to email them to marketingteam@wordstream.com, or you can tweet at WordStream, and you also can tweet directly at Aaron Sagan and at Mark Irvine89 to speak directly to them. You can also contact them via their email address, which you'll see on the screen right now, and their information will also be in the follow-up email should you wish to connect with them. So we thank you for attending today's webinar, and we look forward to you guys joining us again, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks. Have a great day.